We need to head right now, of course. We need to get through this. We're getting into our first game. We need to head right now into our first game, which is going to be New York versus London. We're heading to our game called Keys to Victory, written by yours truly, Nameless. Talk to me about this, bro.
The S&D mistakes continue to show their weakness. Show a new look and come prepared today in Search and Destroy. They haven't won a Search and Destroy All of Champs. They have an 8-18 round count. That's unacceptable, right? You saw them get hard countered by the Rocker when they played them. You saw them in their next series where in Search and Destroy they had a round 11 where they lost with the bomb down initially. Like, those things can't happen. If you're trying to make a long run in Champs, you have to be on point in Search. The respawn looks solid, right? But you can't be 8-18 round count. You need to get that clutch factor back. You got to come with a new look today.
Maybe switch up bomb carriers or something, because they were getting the bomb down fine, but as Temp was their bomb carrier, maybe switch it up to someone else so they can win some of those holds, and because they were getting retake on really easily.
What did he go, like 3-10 on that arc club or something? Like he shouldn't be in, like, he has a gunny, right?
Exactly.
Like, you got to have Temp staying alive, winning those fights, right? So I think you can make little adjustments, right? Like, maybe give Zuma the bomb, get him more involved in the team. But let's switch on over to London and check out these keys. Weskin put on an MVP-like performance yesterday. Overall KD of him was a 1.32. I mean, he was also number 2 during the regular season, so it's nice to see him doing it once again in Champs. And then Shawnee, he was the surprise for me, 1.2. Second on the team in overall KD. These two played well and made the Hardpoint game really smooth for London. When those two are on point, the map's going to be open and they're going to be able to be successful. So look for those two guys to replicate it.
Absolutely. I think, there's a lot on the line right now for both of these teams. I think we're going to see an incredible first matchup here. This leads me on to our predictions brought to you by Sony's Xperia smartphone. So, Pack, I'm coming to you first. What are you feeling going into this incredible day 5?
I haven't done this yet, but I actually do believe that the Subliners are going to run away with this one. I really think that they're going to fix their S&D, and they're going to go ahead and win this one 3-0. I think that they're a stronger team, and I think that they're really upset by their loss yesterday. So I think that they're going to come out strong and beat this London Royal Ravens team. I'm sorry, Lottie. I'm sorry.
So it's okay. I respect it. It's all right. I respect it. What about you, Nameless? Don't lose a friend as well as Pac-Man has.
I mean, it's just I got to go with New York. Right? I just have to, like, 3-1. I think that London have a big opportunity to take that Search and Destroy. But in terms of Hardpoint, I think New York, it does have the edge. And in Domination, London's been the second worst team in the league, and it's continued into Champs. They look terrible in Domination. So I'm definitely going New York on this one, 3-1.
Okay, well, do you know what? I know who my friends are, and secondly, my prediction, I'm going to have to go with the UK by default, and I'm not no disrespect to either team here, but obviously UK roots, I have to go with them. I'm going to say 3-2. I do think it's going to go down to the wire. I'm hoping London can clutch this up, for my hometown. But we're going to throw it over right now to the casters. Lando and Study, take this away, guys.
Thanks so much, Lottie. Yes, we are kicking off the final day of playoffs with a fantastic series. Study our desk, somewhat separated when it comes down to predictions. Before we kind of meet our teams a little bit, I want to ask you, what are your thoughts on the predictions coming into this match?
Oh, well, Pac-Man and Nameless, they were right. I feel like the Subliners are going to come out and win this. This is a team that's better overall in Respawn. They're going into an Arklov peak on that map too, and they played it a lot so far throughout this entire playoff. So I'm expecting them to make the proper adjustments and be able to close out this series, depending on if the London Royal Ravens come out firing in this first Hardpoint.
Well, we talked about New York Subliners. Maybe the ball kind of is in their court. So let's go ahead and meet the New York Subliners.
The Stallion is frying. The Stallion is cooking. He's got to go and attach, gets it done.
I'm ready to play now. Put me in the game now. I came here to prove it. I'm ready to do it. I can't be afraid now. Put me on the stage.
Zoom again. 1, 2. Has he got any more here? 3.
Subliners player of the game. The Subliners moving on to Saturday with a
oh my God, he's still going!
But there are so many players from
Dallas here, but he doesn't need help. He doesn't need help with the pistol. He's able to stay alive. That's going to be 5 dead.
Mac going big. They call him Big Mac.
Hands up. My time, my time. None of you people can tell me to stop. This time, like the last time, you better get ready to race to the top.
Try to flip this one for second and hold on to this, but 3 go down. Temp with the turn and burn. That's going to be 4 dead. The hill wide open. Mac's going to get on it. Mac's going to win 2 gunfights.
Lower the lights down. Hand over my crown. Hand over my heart. I do this for my town. I do this for my crowd. So turn me up real loud. My time, none of you people can tell me to stop.
Those are your New York Subliners. What, Study? We've got a chance to watch these guys a few different times already throughout playoffs. I feel like there was a lot of positives despite the loss that they could take away versus that Chicago series.
Yeah, they won both of those Hardpoints versus probably the best Hardpoint team in the entire CDL. And that was a great opening answer. They just have S&E woes throughout the entire playoffs. You heard Nameless in that pre-show saying that they haven't won a search and destroy throughout this in the last 5 days. So you have to make the proper adjustments. You have 2 of those game modes in every series. You need to be able to at least close out one.
Yeah, well, we talk a lot about the New York Subliners. Let's go ahead and meet our London Royal Ravens. Those are your London Royal Ravens. Study. We've got a chance to cast over London a number of different times so far throughout the playoffs. A team that's been hyped up a number of different times. And coming into that Battle of Europe series yesterday versus the Legion, they look pretty convincing, my man.
Yeah, everyone stepped up, especially Shawnee. You heard Nameless once again in that post show, 1.2 KD. And I felt like it all went down to that Ramaza hardpoint. We saw him going at least an 8 spree with that assault rifle, just being that slayer that his team needs him to be, stepping up when the time is needed. But the main player for me throughout this entire playoffs has been Zero. Sitting at a 1.14 KD, this is a player that is king finesse on this roster. When you need him to make the right play, he will. And him sitting at a 1.4 with that submachine gun is honestly insane.
Yeah, man. Well, I got to tell you what, as much as I am hyped about this series, I'm also hyped about not only the stakes for the players, but also the stakes for the chat. Folks, we have got the opportunity for some more free Chipotle burritos. That is the final day of CDL playoffs. Feel free to use !Chipotle in chat, folks. If we do, in fact, see a round 11 in the search and destroy, we're having free burrito time. It's only round 11s, and I feel like, Study, we have a really good chance today to see it, but specifically in this particular series. I know the desk kind of went back and forth. Lottie had a Game 5 prediction, which means that we have 2 opportunities to see that round 11. What say you, sir? You think we have the ability to see that round 11 in this series?
It all depends on how the Royal Ravens pop out on this first map. You know, going into their best search and destroy on map number 2, that's usually their backbone. We saw them win it yesterday versus Paris in a 6-2 fashion. Shawnee making no hesitant plays, hitting around that flank side for an impeccable round that round to win it in the 6-2. But for I think it goes all the way down because the New York Subliners have played Arc Law a lot so far throughout the entire playoffs, so they had to make the proper adjustments to try to make sure that they're able to close out that map. So if anything, I feel like it might go around 11 in that map number 2.
It definitely has the ability to. Like I said, a lot on the line today. A $125,000 match. Loser finishes top 8. Winner, top 6 guaranteed. An opportunity for top 4 later today. Study. These teams have matched up a few different times throughout the season, as this is going to be their 5th encounter so far. New York winning the most recent matchup at their own home series. It was a 3-1 victory, and it was London who took the Game 1 hardpoint, and it was on this very map.
Yeah, all the kills right there in the beginning just go in favor of the Subliners. They had 2 players trying to push up to flip those spawns for P2, but the players from the London Royal Ravens were able to spawn back and neutralize those players. Now, a couple of seconds in this P1 hardpoint are going to go to the Subliners, but you want to try to break this P2 hardpoint right off the rip if you want to have a chance, because we saw the way that the London Royal Ravens were holding it yesterday versus Paris. They were able to break in easily depending on their setup.
Yeah, London were just kind of overwhelming Paris at different times. We talked about New York. They can be a different beast and getting some decent seconds in P1. But again, it's all about depot, right? That's what the Ravens are focused on. That's the reason why Shawnee spawns up. He instantly wants to focus on that next rotation, as we do see a little bit of a spread coming in from New York. They'll grab the final few seconds. They've got guys coming in from that back alley-like accuracy. It looks as if a few of those attempts coming from Cargo get shut down as well. Nice long-range shot from accuracy, but again, it's the Ravens trying to play good defense, knowing that the objective behind them is the most important thing right now.
So far, so good. First 10 seconds, they're holding a great hold right now. All the kills going in favor of the London Royal Ravens. You see the Subliners trying to put pressure towards this train side to get around the back, but Wuskins, with that assault rifle, is just causing havoc.
He is. Wuskin doing a lot of damage toward the outside, but it's actually New York who manages to break on in the front. And that's the issue at times with the Ravens so far throughout the season study. It has kind of been those SMGs which haven't always been able to answer the call. Despite Zero's amazing performance, they have had a few issues in the hard points, and Zero trying to fight for this last few seconds of scrap. He ends up getting taken down, a big 1v1 for the last few seconds. It's New York who walks away with it, but it's London, the first of the next rotation.
Yeah, you're New York. That's a perfectly well executed P2. You know, you didn't have the spawns for it, but you get at least 35 seconds on that hill. Now, when it's coming down to this rotation, you see that player number 1 going around this back warehouse, looking like they're going to try to set up a pinch. But that number 6 player from the London Royal Ravens, all the way pushed out from scraps, is eventually going to flip the spawns for Subliners. Now the London Royal Ravens are going to have to hold from the front side.
Yeah, a little bit of an interesting flip, one that the Ravens probably aren't prepared for, but we'll see whether or not it does actually impact them, as the M4s from the front rather are getting cut down. Ravens, despite the lack of spawn out, are holding this one down pretty well. We'll see if New York has somewhat of a reply for the later stages, but like I said, Study, this hardpoint cannot be understated. We've discussed it constantly coming into this. New York, their hardpoints, they've been labeled at times as one of the best hardpoint teams in the game. Their search and destroy, it's no surprise, hasn't been all that electric, and we kind of even talk about the domination. It's not a guarantee for the Ravens, so if they can get a W here in this hardpoint, come out nice and early, and manage to kind of cause somewhat of an upset in this game number 1, it would be huge for them, kind of taking a look at the remainder of the outlook for this series.
Yeah, man, because if they just come out firing, you're going to gain that confidence going into that map number 2. Like I said, it's their best search and destroy map. We saw them beat Paris in it yesterday 6-2. It's all about just players stepping up when needed to. You currently see Zero and Dylan just trying to play their lives around the backside. Zero rotating early. Nice 40 seconds trying to be that nuisance to make sure he flips the spawn for P5, but the trade is going to come and he's going to get taken down. Subliners have the favorable spawn for P5.
Yep, Subliners in a pretty good position given the score, and really if you're London, you just want to try to grab as much time as you possibly can, be focused on that break, but just try to be aware of what could be the negatives coming up. Attached looking to push up as far as he can to try to cause some chaos. However, it's not going to be the case. New York pretty much parking the bus and ready and waiting for warehouse. A pretty even game, but that very well could change up here for New York's current spawn. The smoke is out. We'll see what the Ravens have up their sleeves, at least for now. Zuma finding a nice pick over toward that mine entrance side, but it's actually Dylan who makes his way on the flank. Accuracy is aware of it. 4 fall in the feed, and Scraps, he's left all by his lonesome toward the front door. Can he wait just long enough for the rest of the cavalry to arrive? It looks as if that's not going to be the case. London somewhat getting shut down, but that's not stopping players like Dylan from trying to break on in. However, it's attempt after attempt getting shut down. New York, the defense is solid so far.
Yeah, Temp was in a great position outside of that bathroom area to kill the guy that was pushing up that jungle side. Once he does that, players eventually are going to spawn on him, and it was just a spawn pinch. They were able to come up right behind the London Royal Ravens players and eventually try to hold down a full 60, but looks like the London Royal Ravens are going to get the remaining seconds on this junk time, but it can get scary on these second rotations because the Subliners now have the spawn for P2.
Yeah, and I feel like that was kind of the big emphasis. As you know, the Ravens break in, that's great, they get the last 20 seconds, but if you are kind of forward thinking for P2, I know kind of granted the way that the first set of rotations, it was pretty good for London London at center platform, but it really is kind of all about depot. That's the #1 hill on this map when we talk about the ability to really get time, folks. If you hear us talk about Money Hill, if you're new to the CDL, that essentially is the hard point that a lot of teams are focusing on, whether it's spawns, whether it's positioning. That is often the one where you can get a lot of time on. And so again, Study, I feel like kind of given the circumstances, I feel like New York are okay with that. They have a nice spread kind of through middle map right now, and if they kind of continue to transition back, that could be in a good position. But take a look at that spawn study. Just as I start to talk on maybe some positives, it's actually the London Royal Ravens who get the flip.
Yeah, it was all on Zero right there. He ended up getting past enemy lines, just sitting in bathroom and influencing the spawns for them to spawn back P2, and that is the best case scenario for the London Royal Ravens. They did not play for this hill time on P1, but Zero making that heads up play to eventually try to give them the lead going into this next hard point.
And how great is it, Study, to have a player like Zero, a guy just in general who is always aware of that rotation and always making the big plays for the team?
It's huge, man. You know, you have multiple players that do it, such as Envoy, you know, for the Huntsman.
Yeah.
When you think about Atlanta FaZe, you got a BZ, you got Simp with those submachine guns. You just have to put yourself in the best position. The subliners right there, they were just way too far pushed up around middle map. Zero, like I said, snuck through enemy lines, just sat in a corner, not being impatient, even though his teammates were dying, but that is a good thing. As long as he stays alive on that side of the map, the influence spawns will come on them, and you see them taking the lead, probably going to put themselves about 40 points above the subliners going into this P3, and that one player on rotation eventually gets taken down.
Yeah, overall, works out very well for the Ravens. We were talking a lot about how New York could be in a really good position moving on. However, not the case. Ravens with a decent advantage coming in now toward mine entrance, 167 to 128. Wiskin in the midst of a nice little spree, as that will definitely help out London for the remainder of this hill. What study we talk about on this hill specifically? You're going to have a lot of smokes, but those M4s, if they can get on those on those mine entrance positions, they can be in a really good spot for the majority of the time. Ashani utilizing that line side. He's actually running out of ammo, by the way, and the reason why he gets taken down is because Zuma's on the flank. The Italian Stallion does get dropped for the beginning stages, but it's the Ravens who are actually locking this one down pretty well again.
They're pulling away in this game #1. They were able to chain that P2 and P3, and this is the best case scenario for the London Royal Ravens. Just got to go back one more time to Zero, making that game-changing play, and eventually put his team up by now almost 90 points. Only going to be about 40 points away from winning this map #1. Heads up play, currently sitting at 23 and 19. Even when he's playing for spawns, he's still picking up the kills when he needs to. Zero stepping up huge.
Yeah, Zero stepping up huge, and we talked about it previously, Study, right? Zero, not long ago, was actually on the New York Subliners to start the year, joined this team, and actually denied the opportunity to be on the Royal Ravens lineup. Obviously gets dropped after the first event with New York. Manages to get the opportunity. He told me, hey, I wasn't for sure if I was gonna get another chance to play in the CDL, and look at him here in the playoffs, absolutely lining it up, and against his previous team, doing so well for the roster so far, 25 and 21, and as you called it, Study, making the big plays for Ravens up to this point. If you're New York, the pressure is on. You're trying to get some time at cargo, but you're also trying to be aware of that rotation, as player 5, Zuma, has the ability to go big right now.
Yeah, just going back to what you were saying, Hit being his former team in the Subliners. I remember back in the day when Nameless used to drop me on my neck, and I played him at Champs. And then it's just a different kind of fire if you're that player that got dropped and you're running into your old teammates. This is like, you're looking at to your right, you're the London Royal Ravens, and they want to win this 4-0. Zero felt like he deserved to be in an opportunity to just be playing in the CDL. Now he finds himself with new teammates, going up against his old roster. It's the best feeling possible, man. It's totally unmatched. They're only going to be about 10 points away from winning this map #1, and he's definitely setting the tone early.
Yeah, he definitely is. Looks to be the Ravens in game #1, despite how solid New York have looked throughout these hard points, especially in playoffs, especially throughout this year. The addition of Mac, they have looked absolutely electric in this mode, and can the Ravens come out solid in the beginning, set themselves up well for the search and destroy? We're about to find out. 6 more seconds, and Zero's cutting them down at the door, tries to pull out the blade, but can't manage to do so. New York, granted, they break in for the final 10 seconds, but they have to be aware of platform. That's where the Ravens are somewhat positioned. They're getting that jungle or forest side spawn. Temp trying to make some work happen through mid-map. He gets cut down on water side. Accuracy. Everybody from New York trying to desperately get to that hill in time, but is it going to be enough? Players falling in the feed like flies as the New York Subliners fall early. Ravens win this one here.
Unbelievable first map out of London Royal Ravens. That's the way you want to start this series. You're going up against the Subliners, who are a really good respawn team, and opening up with that first map win, going into your best game mode on your best map, you have to be feeling really confident. Players like Zero making that heads-up play that was the game-changing play, just staying alive. I would expect from the Subliners, to have accuracy, who is their slow AR player, to just making sure he's keeping that focus on those spawns. It'll be a totally different game if they did not flip, but they were able to chain P2 and P3, the London Royal Ravens, and it just opened the game wide open. Good first map.
Yeah, solid first map for the Royal Ravens, and again, it can't be understated what that kind of means for them for the outlook of the remainder of this kind of map set. We talked about their strength in search and destroy, their lack of ability in domination. If they can win this S&D at the very least, they have that guaranteed game 5. If you are a Royal Ravens fan, you are hyped about this victory. And again, we've talked about it, Study, coming into this series. Whenever they played last time back at the New York home series, they played on this very map of Hardpoint Gunrunner, and the Ravens managed to do it. I feel like they've kind of been sneakily a good team in Hardpoint just as much as in Search and Destroy. I think coming into Champs Weekend, coming into playoffs and now kind of forward thinking for Champs Weekend, they were like even in both Hardpoint and Search and Destroy. All of their issues have strictly been in domination. So again, setting themselves up nicely for what could be a 2-0 start.
Yeah, man, it's just those heads-up play. The game was going down to the wire after those first rotation of hard points, but just the Subliners, man, getting sloppy there at the very end, just not having a player play for those spawns. They flipped it right before then, rotating towards that P1, but they just crossed that middle line on the middle of the map, and no players were influencing the back spawn. So Zero, just playing his life, didn't even need to pick up a kill in that situation, just gives his team that game-changing play to chain those next 2 hard points. That's a great opening from the London Royal Ravens. Now you're going into a search and destroy on Arklov. Subliners, like I said, have played this multiple times throughout the entire playoffs. I need them to make the proper adjustments. We heard Pac-Man talking about Temp running that bomb. I would like to see accuracy running it and let Temp be that slayer on the map.
That's a good point, right? I think that's a great point to bring up as we'll transfer from the U.S. Air Force quick scope now to the maps and modes for this series. Arkalov Peak, as you called it, has been great for the Ravens all season long. New York, they would definitely prefer to not have to visit it much longer. That's without question, right? They've lost their last 4 search and destroys, and 3 out of those 4 losses have, in fact, been on Arkalov. And I think it was in the game fuel keys to victory. Nameless was bringing it up. 8-18 in round count, as you already called it, Study, for New York. Something has to change up coming into this one, especially against a roster like the Ravens, and especially against a sniper like Wuskin, which I'm sure is what we're about to witness here.
Yeah, Attach and Wuskins are about to go at it on this map. It's all going to be who's going to be able to start those early rounds and get those early picks for their team. The way that Wuskins plays, if they decide to wrap back towards that B bomb site, Wuskins is going to take his time in that A trenches, trying to make sure no players are going through that flank. But if the Subliners did their homework, you saw that Shawnee was hitting that on defense, hitting flank with no hesitation. So I'm expecting one player to at least continue to hold that, because every time they gave it up, even versus the Huntsman, accuracy was sitting top blue. Pristini was able to slip right through once accuracy decided to go for that flank. So that has to be a key marking point for them in this map number 2.
Yeah, that's a great point to call out. In Arkalov Peak, oftentimes it's a major map. You can have a few players, man, just sneak through, and 2 players to really look out for kind of for the remainder of this series. It's going to be Wuskin versus Mac. Both of these guys have been so good for their team. Wuskin, really, Study, it's been all season long for this guy. We were kind of surprised to not see him on the ballot for the Astro MVP. Probably, right there, kind of in that 6th place position. Definitely an honorable mention, to say the least. And Mac, absolutely has taken over for this team all season long. Whenever he joins this roster, they were kind of in the lower depths when we talk about the power rankings, when we talk about just the seeding in general. Really, both of these guys have played massive for their rosters, and again, we can expect to see them go off and search and destroy. Mac, obviously, a lot of his prowess at times coming from that challenger division. A lot of those guys are great in search and destroy, and you never know, right? He's a good player who can rock with pretty much any single weapon that you put in his hands, whether it's the MP5 or the M4, which is what we're going to see here on Arkalov. He very well could make a major difference here for the Subliners.
Yeah, I'm just hoping that they have some aggressive pushes, trying to keep the pacing to a totally different mode. You know, when you're pushing towards that A bomb, they like to go slow. If they're playing for mid-map
Can I be
control, they
yourself up
wrap
just
back
a little
towards
bit,
A with
T-Man?
about 40 seconds left. Gives the opposite players from the London Royal Ravens enough time to wrap back and eventually try to retake that bomb site. I would like them to not hesitate as much when we're going into this map right here and just hit it. You have Attach, you have Zuma, who are playmakers in Search and Destroy that like to be with their guns in the faces of the opposing team. So I would like them to just step up their pacing a little bit.
Yeah, that's a great call. We'll see what New York, how they've adjusted since their prior losses. Again, folks, could be experiencing some Chipotle, maybe some free burritos. Who knows? Round 11, Arklov, name a better duo. It's going to be a fun one. And obviously, Wiskin, the most feared sniper in the CDL, bringing the big boy out early. And is he open for haircuts? Oh boy, that player has no idea how lucky they are. A nice little spread early for the Ravens as they're looking to put that sniper work to use, trying to find a pick right now, Stud.
Yeah, Wuskin's just taking his time. You see, they're trying to fill him out in this beginning round, see the way the Subliners want to play it. They have 4 players at that A bomb site, and it's looking like it's going to be a perfect blind counter depending on if they all decide to stay. 45 seconds are going to be remaining on the clock. You see that that player in 0. He's just trying to push up, be aggressive with his team. You're also looking at Wuskins on that right side of the grave, just taking his time. Probably going to go for a late flank, but it's all going to come down to how much time they're going to waste to try to push up on this bomb site because time is ticking.
25 seconds left. Ravens, they have to make a move. No one yet to drop in this round, but that's quickly about to change. Dylan able to go and punch in the digits. The plant is in fact successful, but here comes the nade. Can Dylan manage to escape? He's actually got one at his front door. Ends up getting taken down, so Dylan goes flying. In the meantime, for New York, you're happy about the way you've played this defense, but there's still a lot of work to do. Is Matt going to check the trench in time? He does. The trade is there, regardless for scraps. London working with 2 men down. Accuracy manages to find Shawnee from the side, and now it's all down to the sniper himself. 20 seconds left. Can Wiskin make a pick? Not going to happen. Donnie Temp finds 2, and Accuracy, he's putting in the defuse.
It was a good opening kill from Mac, you know, hitting a couple team nades onto that bomb site, taking down Dylan. But him having the awareness to go towards trenches and look behind that rock, that's the same position that we saw Mac play when he was playing versus the Huntsman, and RC was able to kill him. So it's a common spot. Love the awareness right there. Good first round.
Yeah, good first round for New York. They're happy to get as many of these as we talked about, Study, right? This team not looking great on Arklov so far to this weekend, but you can never count out, right? Revan, JP, those guys put in a ton of work for the Subliners. We want to get them as prepared as possible for a series like this. A lot on the line, $125,000 to be exact, Study. I think that may provide a little bit of excess pressure. I don't know about you.
Oh, yeah, 125,000. Oh my God! I remember back in the day we were playing for 5,000. These guys are playing for literally quadruple the money. It's insane, man. All the pressure that they have playing for this amount of money, and this is the time to show why you deserve to be in this position that you are.
And we talked about guys to look out for, players like Zuma as he quickly gets wiped off of our screen. Dylan goes for the challenge. Unfortunately, he does get taken down. To the Ravens, you love to have someone like that pretty much available at your disposal. And there's the sniper pick. Attach. Has to hit shots like that, especially if you're given the opportunity, but not able to make the first one land as the Ravens continuing on. 30 seconds left. Another somewhat slowed push offense here. This time it is going to be New York. They were successful last time around, but it was on defense. And Scraps, another nice pick, as that'll be one for him. And really the big question is, can New York rebound? They're relying on this guy, Mac. Can he do something from afar? How about Attach from up close? There's Mac with the pick, and now it's on to Scraps. Able to pick off the first, and the Lancer was actually running the bomb, so he knows exactly where Attach's positioning is. The question for Attach, though, is he aware where Scraps could be? He actually decides to wrap back around, and Scraps is going to find a peek from afar. A major 1v1 comes down to the wire, and it's Scraps who comes away with it.
Scraps ended up getting 3 kills on that round. He takes Donnie off of that bomb site to make sure they don't get the bomb down right off the rip. Repositions himself towards that stone wall. The Subliners are able to pick up 2 kills, but I guess they just did not count for Scraps. Scraps was able to just pop up over that stone wall, win that 1v1, then force it into 1v1 with Attach. Attach was only had a sniper pistol right there. He thought he was still behind that stone wall on the left side behind the truck, but great repositioning out of Scraps right there to tie it up 1-1.
Yeah, good repositioning, and again, another slow-paced offensive round, which on Arklov can be common from time to time. Like I said, study. It's a big map. You're going to see A hits quite a bit. Curious to see if one of our offensive teams wants to try to make some work and some action happen at B. We've seen London be successful actually at B a number of different times, but it looks as if they're going back to Old Faithful. And speaking of Faithful, Wuskin with the big boy trying to do some damage, but it's actually going to be Scraps, his twin brother, who comes away with the first, but that Marshall duo will walk away with the first two for the Ravens. Tash trying to do some work, but it's actually Zuma. How about 3 for him? A major play coming through from the Italian stallion himself, totally stopping the Ravens in their tracks.
I love that out of Zuma. Both of his teammates go down, put it in a 5v3, but an immediate answer, getting that trenches push, getting a 3-piece, just taking them all off guard. He probably just went for the challenge, just jumped out, and got great timing on all of the players. And that's a great heads-up play, way to equalize that. Now in a 1v3 situation for Shawnee, this round is basically going to be impossible with only 25 seconds left. Bomb is going to be down in trenches. He's going to have to make a miracle happen.
A miracle that unfortunately is not going to happen today. This game is an intense one, and in situations like that, the way that these rosters study are kind of prepared at this moment. I mean, it's so difficult to come away with clutches, obviously given the position that he's in, but just in general, 1 versus 2, 1 versus 3, the way that these teams have prepared coming into this year, the way that franchising has kind of totally changed up the rosters with analysts, coaching staff. I mean, these guys have never known more about not only themselves, but the opponents they're facing off against. As both these teams, excellent coaching staffs have prepared their rosters for this moment, and neither one of them wants to go down this early. We were kind of talking about this in the green room a little bit coming into this series, and it was a matter of top 8 for both of these rosters would just be outwardly unacceptable by their standards.
Yeah, you have players that have been playing for a really long time, you know, unattached world champion. You also have Temp, who just recently won his first championship and his own home series. You want if you want to be in this position that you are, you want to be able to close out. You know, you have shown throughout the year that you have been able to win, compete with the top teams. Now you're going up against the London Royal Ravens, which is another team that loves to be in the position that they are. Scraps and Wuskins have been playing for a really long time, you know, followed by Zero to get second at that Black Ops 3 champs. He's just been playing. They have experience when it comes down to it. It's just all about closing out and playing who's going to be playing better on that day.
And again, in this round in particular, it's another kind of slow push, and that's the issue with trying to go over toward this site study. It really is, especially versus the Ravens and Gauntlet, because you've got a lot of experience with players who like to rock that M4. Well, we talk about, you know, guys like Shawnee have rocked this previously. Scraps has an M4 in his hands all the time. Same thing with Wuskin, and the same can be said for Zero, right? All these guys have AR experience. They're putting it to good usage in New York. They've just yet to find the picks on offense, and that was the problem yet again there.
Yeah, you see, once again, Shawnee going for that flank. It was a round before when the Subliners were on offense, accuracy was sitting all the way in that back truck, basically in their spawn to make sure no one was going to come around. Fortunately, they don't decide to do the same exact push. But the slow and steady win the race thing for the Subliners is not really working out so far. I would like them to just step up their aggression. You know, you have players like Attach, Zuma, and Mac who can just run in, face bash, and just get a couple kills if they need to. This slow play is not really working out for them, and the London Royal Ravens are just countering it perfectly.
They are indeed, and Shawnee, again, making the big plays, decides to push over toward that B window, gets to pick, and he's going to go ahead and basically give the dispatch over to the teammates. Hey, this one's open. Let's go ahead and get this bomb on down. And Shawnee, yet again, being the difference maker toward this back rock. And for New York, you're putting in a world of trouble. A 2 versus 5. Mac and Temp were pretty much still over at the opposite side as they learned the information a little bit too late. Ravens countering well, and now it's all on the Temp. A 1 versus 5. And good night to New York.
I just love the way that the Ravens played that. You know, you stall, you push towards A, you make a couple noises to make sure that you have a couple players from the Subliners trying to rotate back and making sure you're not getting outmanned when it comes to just gunfights. But they take it nice and sturdy there. You see Shawnee pushing up that right side, goes right up middle, able to catch a kill, and push around the right side and catch accuracy in that window in that B bomb site. But I love how he did not decide to go into that bomb site. He repositioned himself to make sure he covers off the entire back of that building, able to pick up a couple more kills. Good adjustment out of Shawnee right there.
Yeah, I feel like it's constantly adjustments being made from the Ravens as there we go. Tatch manages to find the pick, but for New York, I feel like it's kind of been the same old stud. but looks as if they do have a B push in mind, which very well could be the difference that they need. But the one man who stands in their way was one man who was in their starting lineup to start the season. Can Zero play spoilers yet again? Can they win a major swing round? There's the first pick. Lovely shots coming through from Zero. Was a major player in the hardpoint. And how about the search and destroy? Gets cut down by Mac, but if you are the Ravens, you're aware of this push, right? They're going out that far grave. You'd like to at least be somewhat aware of it and attach. Hard position to be in. He's trying to put that pistol to work. And how about the nade as New York transition from A to B, now back to A. And Shawnee's here for the first line of defense, takes down the bomb, which is going to be nice. Time starting to tick away. Can New York get here in time? And Mac, a nice nade on to Shawnee. 2 versus 1 scraps, or rather 3 versus 1, excuse me. Great opportunity for scraps, but that rotation of the bomb, it eventually works out for New York. Study it looked a little bit worrying for at least my perspective, but New York did manage to get it done regardless.
Yeah, that round comes down to attach, just being patient. Open it up with the first blood onto Wuskins in that top window area. All his teammates were making a lot of noise in that graveyard. You saw Zuma get taken down by Zero, but Mac with the trade. While all that was happening, Dylan tried to push to that A bomb site, but attached with that stun nade and with the pistol, able to put down a couple shots and eventually blow him up with that Semtex and rotate back. Once you get that information, that's exactly how Attach wanted to play that. Well, greatly executed there, and hopefully, you know, we're going down to the wire here with a 3-3.
I can smell the burritos from here. But yeah, they do, man. I smell some steak, some queso, some guac, maybe. Who knows? Regardless, Zuma being the man to cause some issues, at least off the start, but headshots aplenty as the Ravens are happy to cut down the subliners, at least in the early stages, given their position. And there's Wuskin yet again. Sniper hasn't been firing up to the same standards that we're, more familiar with in the last 2 times we've got to watch them, but the Ravens have seen success regardless, so you're still happy with that if you're London. But interesting situation for them where they pretty much have to choose. Do we want to try to go for the rush over at B, or is it kind of back to the same situation? Time ticking away yet again, and the Ravens are looked to blitz over at A. Attach could be the one man here who has to reference back again. Does have that sniper. If he can get to a good position, it could cause some problems, but Dylan's already here for the plant. Matt gets the call. It's really just about if Attach can put this sniper to good usage. What a massive play this could be for New York, the first team to get to 4. The standoff is going to go the Ravens' way. As rotation after rotation, both teams doing it quite often, Study, but it's the Ravens who managed to get it done yet again. Scraps with some big plays toward the stretch as he finds the final 2.
The Ravens executed that play perfectly. They decided to try to fight for that mid-map control. Shawnee opening up with the first blood, able to neutralize those players that are going to eventually wrap back. Wuskins being patient in that top blue window, able to catch accuracy. Then you split both of the subliners players 1-1, trying to watch both bomb sites. I thought they were going to waste a lot of time trying to wrap back towards A, but Attach only having a sniper sniper in that situation is the best possible outcome for the Royal Ravens. He was not able to get a kill there. They just flood him out with their man advantage and a great executed offense right there.
Fast attack finally from New York, but the sniper trying to slow things down, but here comes Zuma on the flank. A lovely start from New York. And from the man that can make the big plays, he's done it ever since he really joined this New York team, ever since he really joined the professional side of things, always being a difference maker in search and destroy. But the flank, Shawnee trying to make something happen, but Mac is aware of it. And it's about time, Study. We've seen so many times when Shawnee has caused some chaos, but Subliners, a nice spread, a nice pretty much line separated throughout the bomb site, as we'll see how the Ravens look to engage this.
You seen Shawnee, he was trying to go around that pinch side. And then you saw Accuracy and Mac both turn around. They're like, fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me. Cannot let that happen again. But I love the pacing right there out of Zuma. Even though his teammate got first blooded, Wuskins was trying to back down with that sniper. Zuma, no hesitation, going for that push through that trenches side, able to pick up both on that bomb site. Once he did that, they have full bomb control. All you have to do is pick up the flank, and that's exactly what they did to tie it up 4-4 now.
And this is a big game, right? We talked about the New York Subliner study. This is a huge one for them in the search and destroy. Ever since Mac has joined this lineup, New York are 11-1 in series when they win the game 2 S&D. Not only is this big for them just to get back into it, but search and destroy by no means has been a prominent one for them. They dropped the game 1 and kind of left to hopefully perform in Arkalov, which has been the Ravens' playground. And who's got the faster reaction? It's going to be Temp this time.
It's like the London Royal Ravens are going to decide to just probably wrap back towards B. You see that number 9 player in Shawnee trying to push around that far right, but I think accuracy is going to be waiting for him. Probably the shot's going to go down, and just like that, that B rotation gets shut down. You find themselves in a 5v3 situation. 40 seconds remaining on the clock. You have 4 players from the Subliners watching over this A bomb site. This is going to be a difficult task, and it's probably going to lead to if Wuskins can pop a pick here and try to bring the man advantage down a little bit.
As you call it, Shawnee tries to make the play. London have relied on that so often throughout this series, or rather throughout this S&D, and it hasn't worked this time. Attach a big pick on a 0. Can he find another onto Wuskin? And instantly opens up the site, as that's going to be 2 in a row. Player picked off the bomb is Dylan, and now it is all onto Wuskin. A nice sniper in his backside, but it's the pistol that comes to play, and he will eventually get cut down as New York retake the site. They watch the flank, and now they put themselves up 5 rounds to 4. Oh boy, Study. Are we going to see Chipotle, or do New York, they close it out in this next defense?
I don't know. Their adjustments right there were beautiful. You saw Temp playing that trenches area, able to open it up with that first blood. And then you have accuracy just playing that island player, catching Shawnee. There was no hesitation right there. They knew that they had to work for that bomb plant. As soon as that smoke grenade gets down on that bomb, Attach and all of his teammates push up, making sure nothing fishy is about to happen. Just putting themselves in a man advantage there. Put themselves at game point now.
To be honest, with how fast these
I would
rounds
like
have
another
gone.
aggressive push too.
Yeah, with how fast these rounds have gone, I'm just thinking it was going to be New York actually on the defensive end, but not the case. Another fast-paced offensive round attempt, but it is somewhat thwarted as the smokes, the nades, the utility, it's all out. This is exactly where Zuma likes to play. Shout out to our observers, a lovely shot of what New York is attempting right now. Keep in mind that player that could as well be on the flank. Shawnee likes to roam through mid, hasn't got the opportunity. Trades are there. Mac drops off the start. Zuma's there to pick it up. The bomb is, I wouldn't say free to make his way onto the site, but Tib has to be careful, manages to punch in those digits. Now it's all onto the pick.
Just gotta find an opening if you're the London Royal Ravens. This is going to be a really hard retake. You don't have a player going around that flank side. Wuskins is probably going to have to hit an insane shot, but pushing through the smoke is going to be scraps. Shots are going to go down. Temp pulls out the knife, able to take down Shawnee, but eventually get traded by 0. 20 seconds remaining on the clock.
20 seconds left. Zuma just has to wait. He just has to play the time. Scraps. Can the Marshals do it together? The time is starting to tick away, but Scraps is trying to hang out here, and it's not going to be enough. A lot to do in such a short amount of time, and New York managed to close out this search and destroy, one that we thought had the ability to go the Ravens' way. They've been so great on Arkalov all weekend long and all throughout the season. But it is going to be the Subliners who walk away with it. Their first search and destroy win here in playoffs comes at arguably the most important moment, as now we've got ourselves the 1-1 scoreline here, Stud.
You got to be feeling really good if you're the Subliners. You know, even though you were going into that map number 3, which is going to be Domination, it's probably a guaranteed because how bad the London Royal Ravens have been at that game mode. To win this search and destroy, your first one throughout the entire playoffs, definitely shows that they've just been putting in their work. All the times that they've been playing Ark Law throughout this entire week has not worked out. but every single round making adjustments that needed. You saw accuracy picking up flanks when needed to. You saw Mac and Zuma being aggressive in that trenches, playing trades, just switching up that pacing. Do you not see them go B a majority of times and eventually wrap back? It was just great execution on how they wanted to switch up their play strats on this map. Winning it in a 6-4 fashion, you have to be feeling really good to tie the series up 1-1.
Yeah, I think you're feeling great, right? And we kind of talked in the beginning stages for New York. It was like kind of the Ravens were making the adjustments. New York were a little bit slower to the gate, but they started to kind of catch their footing, as you called it. The aggressive plays were absolutely electric. But let's go and take a look at our U.S. Army tactical play, and it's the three-piece from Zuma, man. The three-piece from Zuma off the rip instantly takes down this push from the Ravens. And you've been calling it, Study, pretty much all season long, ever since we kind of started, kind of casting together. It's been about those Ravens and how they attack the A side. It's always great when you got a guy like Zuma who can be so reliant and really any search and destroy. And even with the M4 in his hands, it instantly makes the Ravens' life that much more difficult, as that was just one of the many big rounds that New York managed to walk away with and manages to give them a big victory here.
Zuma is just playing at a totally different pace. You can just tell how confident he's playing so far, switching up between that submachine gun and that assault rifle, just trying to be that playmaker for his team. Him getting that three-piece in that round was huge, because it was a 5v5 that turned into a 5v3, but with him getting that three-piece, turns it into a 3v2 situation. Without him right there, they probably lose that round, and it goes round 11.
Oh boy, a very, very interesting series up to this point. We thought it has the ability to maybe see that game 5, but it's got a great opportunity to do it, as game 3 domination is up right after this.
Oh my God! Mr. Ice in his veins. Bongo top. He gets the damage in. He can't miss it. It's accuracy. Engage. Here we go. Zuma. 1 versus 3. Now attaches the man to make the play. It's be attached, locking it down. And Mac with the snap. Come in and dominate the respawn.
Scuff Gaming, the official controller of the Call of Duty League. Call of Duty League is brought to you by Metro by T-Mobile. Rule your day with the #1 brand in prepaid. The United States Air Force. Learn more at airforce.com.
Save money at the restaurants you love with Grubhub Perks. Use code CDL Playoffs at checkout to get free delivery.
Given the state of change right now, I still believe that New York can make a very decent run. They've got Rocker in their first round. They're probably going to beat those. They're not looking great at the moment. They've just made a change. We've got no idea what to expect. You cannot expect a squad to just change like that and be able to handle a team like New York. I genuinely believe they're going to have a good game against the Huntsmen again. It's all up in the air for me, like in general, but I just still think the New York Subliners have got a very, very good squad. I still think the Zoom is fantastic. I think Max still can slay with the absolute best of them. I see no reason whatsoever why you don't pick New York to run this one home. I think they still have a good run against pretty much everyone in the lower bracket. They basically beat all those teams. Maybe Paris give them a tough run because they look good right now, but I just don't see anyone giving them a chance. Up until FaZe, I think FaZe is going to be the team to knock New York down, but after that, I think they're all good. I think they're completely fine, and they're definitely going to make that deep run.
That was Contesting the Point presented by Astro. I definitely agree with Miles, though. You know, in terms of his kind of call out, in terms of New York being that team that could make the dark horse run, they were my pick. I think, Study, we talked a little bit about the Subliners, their chance to maybe kind of be that particular team. But I tell you what, man, they've got a really, really good chance. By the way, folks, make sure to head to @ScuffGaming on Twitter now to enter for a chance to win a CDL Scuff Impact controller. Study. Ooh, my friend, we've got some scuffs on deck. Got the Impact myself. What do you think? I actually customized this one myself. You like the color scheme I got going on here?
Yeah, I like the orange rings. It looks pretty cool. The only thing is, I don't like how you have the buttons on them. Like, we played for a really long time. Mine are all blacked out. Oh, no, they're not. All right, but they're blacked out on this controller. So I know every button by heart by now. So Scuff Gaming is like the best company out there when it comes to controllers. I've been sponsored by them, even when I was a pro player. Best in the game.
So good. I'm gonna set this bad boy nice and calmly over there in my scuff case. There we have it. All right, let's get into this one, man. Like I said, we've kind of talked about it. We've discussed all throughout this series. Zero, his performance, really kind of sense going from the Subliners now to the Royal Ravens. It's a major storyline, and look at those numbers. Look at the difference that it makes whenever he's gone from one team to the next. All of those numbers up from his prior team, and it's fair to say so far throughout this series, so far throughout the postseason, he has been the guy for the Ravens, especially to be the one making the plays and the hardpoint, as we call it out.
Yeah, so back when he was on the Subliners, he was running that flex role, you know, just not being able to put himself in situations to where he needed to be aggressive. But him switching to the London Royal Ravens, running that strict sub, finessing when he needs to, definitely showing why he's been stepping up in every single category. We saw it in that map number 1, making that game-changing play when the team needs to. He's a lot more comfortable in this role with the London Royal Ravens, and it's definitely been showing so far.
Oh boy, it has. And we talked about the Ravens. We talked about their performance all season long. Study. It has been stellar, right? Their hardpoint, their search and destroy, it has been solid, right? I mean, they've been even across the board, but domination, it's not been great. And I think that's the thing that kind of worried me after the loss in the search and destroy was that I'll say this, you don't have a guarantee to win the search and destroy, but they win the game with hardpoint. You're feeling good about them on our club specifically. I thought we're having them up 2-0 coming into the Dom. Now this totally shifts for me. I want to hear your thoughts. This series totally shifts for me because I think it's fair to say New York, while they haven't been in stellar and domination themselves, it's been a better performance than what we've seen from London, especially considering that London, their woes have continued only here in the playoffs and Dom as well.
Yeah, and you said it. Ever since the Subliners have added Mac to their roster, 11-1 if they're able to win that map too. And you are set in stone right now. You see the Subliners being aggressive, all the kills going in their favor. Hopefully about to be able to catch this D flag. The C flag hasn't even been captured by the London Royal Ravens. Looking like they're going to try to flip it right off the rip. And this is what scares me, man. Even when we went into an Astro listening with the Ravens, they're just so hesitant on their pushes. Going to get set up in a 3-cap nice and early, and the Subliners are coming out hot.
New York, they've got to be feeling good. They've got to be feeling hyped. By the way, take a look at that pesky Wooskin over at A. Regardless, let's go to an Astro Gaming listening with the Subliners.
2-3 guys.
Three there.
Work mid and right. Oh, he's already at A. Already at A. Was that helping my
Coach
Or just went back there. I'm going to
I'm back right. I'm trying to get him down.
Okay, I'm going to C. Half wall to pipe. Half wall dead.
Water. Reagan green alley.
Reagan alley. Last 2. I don't see Rig.
Reagan one was front green.
I'm backing up from A. I'm backing up 2A. Front green dead.
One bathroom.
That was him, Johnny. That was him.
Nice.
Stay B.
I'm P3. I'm flash crates.
I'm pushing bricks.
I'm looking lockers from P3. Another one A. I'm flash crates, guys.
He's in bricks, guys. Scratches in bricks. He could go with him.
Yeah, I'm at your. What's called? I have your crates. I have your right crates. Just holding P3, guys.
I'm putting a trophy down on B.
You dead?
Pushing a pipeline.
Guys, keep holding this. Take we
go down.
Pipes dead.
The fuck
one's lockers. I
don't to come help you, Lamar.
Or 10 stairs. Lockers.
It could be high crates down. I'm trying to get in.
Lockers, one shot, one skin. I shot a trophy.
Oh, they need me very.
Under you, front green. 10 stairs.
Grab front green. Dead. Good call.
Westman's still 10 stairs.
Yeah, he's playing his life.
I'm about to flash him a little bit down.
He's over there. I'm just literally leaving inside it. I'm still playing pipeline. I'm gonna have your help, okay?
They bricked out. They smoked out. I'm nading the flag.
I'm playing pipeline in the corner.
It breaks weak. Going pipe.
Flash him in the smoke, bro. Got an 8.
I mean, some pretty nice and easy columns there, Study. I feel like New York, for a very long period of time, didn't actually have to say much of anything. Reason why is because London couldn't even really break out of their spawn. A very solid beginning from the Subliners. We see that near trip cap. They're able to deal the damage. Would you like their overall from the start from New York?
just calm, cool, and collected. You heard Donnie saying he doesn't even know what the opposite team is doing. They were not able to push up on that half-point mark on the map. You saw Wuskin sitting at those zone steps on that far right, trying to stay alive for his team to eventually push up towards B. They're able to cap this B flag, but the lead that the Subliners have already gained, leading by 26 points. This is a great opening from the Subliners. They need to just be able to at least hold this 2 cap and not let this game get out of hand, because with the run of Royal Ravens, if they're able to hold this 2, they'll be able to get right back into this game.
Yeah, because I feel like you've already set yourself up for a great kind of into this game. It's pretty much just about playing solid. You know, try to be annoying at C, give yourself some map positioning to be able to break over toward B. You've got the favorable position. Just kind of ride it out based off the way that you played it. But we'll see if the Ravens can have somewhat of a response, as they've got a big, rather 1v2 engagement over at B. I believe it's Shawnee who actually does get punched in the throat from Temp, who definitely is motivated coming into this matchup. A guy who hasn't had the greatest placement at champs, a guy who's been kind of doubted when it comes down to the big moments, wants to have another opportunity to prove why he is one of the best players in the game. Is a big moment for the Ravens to try to break in here over at B, as they're getting cut down left and right. The flanks are there from New York, and the trades are working out in their favor, Study.
Yeah, the London Royal Ravens is just committing way too hard towards that B flag. Once a couple kills go in favor of the Subliners, it's shut down and they have to reset and do it all over again. I would like to see one of the players from the London Royal Ravens eventually try to sneak through towards that A flag and just stay alive. But the pressure from the Subliners right now, you have 8 players currently sitting at 8. All the players from the Subliners, all positive.
Yeah.
Just stepping up in the slaying department, doing what they need to do. You see Zuma just being that nuisance with Mac around the C flag. Most likely a neutralization is going to come in, and they're just trapping it on the Royal Ravens in this back spawn.
Yeah, I mean, Scramskit said, you know, I think either that's a flank or a spawn. I'm really not sure, to be honest with you. But again, it's not enough. It's really not enough. And you talked about the slang for New York on the other end for the Ravens. I want to say it was Dylan or someone who started off like 0-5. I think Shawnee's like 3-6 right now, and by no means has it been great for the Ravens, and a lot of that's catered to the slang. And that was what we saw. I think it was our very first series of playoffs. We got to cast the Ravens versus the Ultra, a big game for both of those teams. And really the big story for that series was the way that the Ultra came out in all of the respawns, right? It was that aggressive beginning. I want to say that they played Gunrunner Dom as well, and Toronto walked away with that one by like at least 30, if not 40 points. And it could be that it might have been more than that, but it really was in every single respawn that we saw. Ultra coming out strong, coming out fast, and the Ravens haven't been able to deal with it.
Yeah, Ravens just don't know what to do, what play they want to execute when they're spawning towards that C flag. Now they're going into the favorable side with this A spawn. I'm expecting them to eventually try to get a couple kills around that B flag and hold a 2 cap for a little bit, and then eventually get your sub players to start working up towards that right side crates area. You have Zero, you have Dylan, who haven't really started off on this map so far so good. Being down 40 points though, knowing the way that the Subliners have been playing this so far, it's going to be a crazy comeback.
Well, the Subliners, they've reached the century mark. They're looking great coming into this second half. It's going to be interesting to see what the Royal Ravens have up their sleeves. Let's go to an Astro Gaming listening with London.
I'm going straight for C. I'm going straight for C. Mid-map. Tommy, mid-map. Flanking P3. Kill whore. I don't know where he went.
Close. He's in the corner still.
On B. Wait, no, he's shoot it. No, he's on the flag. He's got a gun, guys. Flanking. Lock is dead. One more. Hide in B. I'm gonna. No, Pat Red Train. No, he's holding C.
I don't see him, Sean.
He's in the corner. I've got one at A. Get your way. You guys. Spawn day. On me. Nice. Get up in you. I have been in you. I'm getting in the forest. Listen, we can hold it.
They threw shit at B.
Oh, he's in vent. He's going to hit. He's holding vent room. He's either hitting or going in bathroom. Touching vent room. Help me. Go on P3. I'm stunning their side.
Yo, hold up. I'll help you.
Only minute about that. One more, one shot. Nice, good trade. What's out, bullet? Nice. One more deep.
I'm pinching.
I flashed it.
Pinching.
Ravens, they're able to pretty much deal with the damage early. It's fair to say a lot of lead has been shed. Dylan, unfortunately, 6-12, but has the ability to turn around right now. How about a 3 spree for young Dylan Cod? How about a 4? As it's going to be, like we discussed at the start of this second half, a very difficult task for London to make this comeback happen. But when you see plays like that come through from Dylan, it can be the piece that ignites them. He can be the player that can start to bring them back. I've had the chance to interview a number of different guys kind of throughout the season so far, Study, and all of them constantly talk about Dylan's ability, how great he can be with the SMG. And not only is Dylan going off, but we see Wisconsin hit that 5 spree in a row. London, they're looking like a different team, and it looks as if they actually could maybe go for the neutral. If Wisconsin can manage to stay alive and be constant more problems, the neutral could be inbound, just manages to get taken off of it. But it's fair to say, Study, the Ravens, they're using that advantage that they have with that A spawn.
Yeah, they've definitely been holding this 2 flag setup the entire second half. No players from the Subliners, you know, they're trying to push towards A, getting shut down. Shawnee stepping up big when he needs to. But Dylan really coming alive so far. Only being down 14 points. Couple kills are going to go in favor of the Subliners, and eventually going to get back towards this B flag. But only being down 15, you basically held a 2-cap for 3 minutes straight. You need to do it for at least a little bit longer, eventually work towards a contest, possibly, depending on how these flags are going to go. But the Subliners able to have a good answer right back because it was starting to get out of hand. The London Royal Ravens had a great setup with the 2 flag setup, but it gets broken.
It does, but look at this blitz. Look at this onslaught from the Ravens. They need a break over at C. They're able to take down Temp. It's going to be Mac left in defense. I want to say that Zuma, who also is trying to wrap back just to make sure that this is possible. But in the meantime, for the Ravens, look at what New York is doing. They're actually trying to go for A as well. Could be a wonderful position for New York. They do get wiped off of C, but they in turn manage to go for the neutral. Temp realizes, got to go for the cap, as the spawns do end up flipping. And boys, this one coming down to the wire, but you like the play from New York there, Study. They're able to kind of regain control. They get the spawn flip, and they're set up quite nicely for the final minute of this game.
Yeah, there were 2 players from the Subliners that were pushing towards that B flag. They already had control of it. 3 players from the Subliners at that C, but they realized that they're going to get overwhelmed at that C flag, and let's just try to go for the flip. That's exactly what they do. Wuskins was in a position to eventually try to, you know, put some shame on that play there, but he gets taken down, and then the spawn goes in for the Subliners. Now they have this A setup, 35 seconds remaining. If you are the Royal Ravens, you need to get a 3-cap, and you need to get it now, or this one's basically done.
Yeah, it looks to be possibly that way. New York starting to surge on forward at C. Dylan trying to make some plays, but despite the streak, 11 and 17 for him. 14 and 19 Shawnee, 13 and 20. It's no secret, Study. I mean, literally, the first half, New York comes out, they get the trip cap, they instantly flip spawns. I mean, they're looking like the team that we thought they could be when it came down to that first hardpoint. We get to revisit them here on Gunrunner, and they look like a totally different squad as the Ravens lose Domination again. A team that is not like this mode all season long, and in playoffs it continues to be the case. They set themselves up nicely in the first respawn, and now New York, after the Arklaw peak win, and now after here the Domination on Gunrunner, find themselves up 2-1.
Yeah, it's all started on that first side. Them opening up with a 3-cap right off the rip, eventually turning into a 2-cap, but holding the Royal Ravens at that C spawn for basically 3 minutes. They were able to put themselves up by at least 20 points in the first half. You saw going into that second half, the London Royal Ravens held that 2-cap and eventually turned it back down. But the Subliners just making the heads-up play. They had the lead. All they needed to do was just flip those spawns, put it in their favor. They win by 31 points. Going into map number 4, you're going to have Ramaza Hardpoint. And we saw the way that the Subliners came out yesterday versus the Huntsmen in that very first map of that series. They came out hot, man. So them being on their, keeping their foot on the pedal, going into this Hardpoint, the London Royal Ravens need to have an answer.
Yeah, they're definitely going to need to have an answer. And again, it's hard, right? Because we talked about the Ravens so highly after that first hard point, because I literally felt like that search and destroy for me was the overall difference maker, right? We see it going down, what is that, round 10? Ravens aren't able to commit, aren't able to come away with the clutch. And I feel like for me, that was the breaking point. And that's such a scary thing for the Ravens as well, because you're coming into that hard point. You're not really expected to win it. You're able to come away with the victory. Now for the second straight time on that hard point specifically versus this team, you come into the search and destroy, you fall flat, and now it's like you can never guarantee a dom. Like you almost have to come up 2-0 coming into the dom just to give yourself enough cushion to not have to see that game 5. And so I don't know, it's an odd situation for the Ravens, and if they are able to survive this series here, Study, they're going to have to go over something, right? They're going to have a very, very short time before they're going to have to match up against the Ultra, which will be the next opponent for whoever's able to win this series. They're going to have to come up with something quick, because against that team, against even just the rest of the rosters that we have lined up, they're not going to give you that luxury, right? You're not going to have an easy 2-0 versus anybody from now on, especially here versus the Subliners. And I don't know, despite the prowess that we saw them perform with in the Hardpoint, I'm a little bit nervous coming into this Ramaza here.
It's definitely nerve-wracking. You know, if you're the London Royal Ravens, you're basically giving away a map in every single series. You're not able to close out in a 3-0, and that could be really scary if you're going up against one of the best hardpoint teams in the game, and also one of the best search and destroy teams in the game. You went in your favorite S&D map on that Arklov Peak. Unfortunately, it drops, but in the back of their mind, they're like, okay, now we're down 2-1, because they cannot win a domination. Their communication is lackluster. You heard Scraps one time, he's just saying, just pick up the kills when needed. We just need to get kills, and unfortunately, that wasn't in their favor. Now they're going down 2-1. You're going to need players like Shawnee to step up like he did yesterday versus the Legion.
Yeah, and here's our PS4 damage dealt leaderboard throughout that Hardpoint. Despite the victory for the Ravens, it was really New York putting in a ton of the damage. Specifically, it is that man Dylan Price attach, a guy who oftentimes goes off at champs, and someone who I believe has had a pretty sneaky good season so far throughout this year study. I know a lot of the conversation on New York Subliners specifically has been on Mac, right? His impact for this team, which of course has been felt, but I feel like guys like Zuma, guys like Attach, who are normally players who are highlighted, even guys like Temp as well, haven't really kind of been given that same pedestal that they have previously. And I think Attach could definitely play massive when we talk about this Ramaza, just based off the positioning. And I guess one thing that I want to ask you about, on a map like Ramaza, Ravens' communication at times, as you called it in the Domination, was not great, right? At times throughout the season that we've been able to watch them throughout the season, we've been able to commentate over them specifically, comms have not been great. That can't really fly on a map like Ramaza, right? Kind of given the way of how these hardpoints work, given the way of how easily you can kind of hold 50, 60 seconds on some of these HPs. One misplay, and that can be the difference maker. Do you think that could be a big problem for the Ravens coming into this hardpoint?
Yeah, definitely it could be a problem. You know, if you didn't have Zero in that first hardpoint making that individual play, flipping those spawns, they probably would have ended up losing it. You saw that damage dealt leaderboard. Everyone from the Subliners up there besides Zero. So now going into this hardpoint, you need to be able to keep up in the slaying department with the Subliners. They're going to have the favorite spawn going towards P2 right off the rip. But if you're the London Royal Ravens, you need to come out hot right off the rip. Probably get at least 30 to 40 seconds on this first hill and immediately try to go for a flip. These rotations are so huge on this map. You can have money hills such as P2 and Barbershop if you're able to chain them correctly.
We'll see what the Ravens can possibly put up as an early scout. That's going to be Dylan trying to make somewhat of a flank over toward that back electronic shop. Does get a little bit aggressive toward construction, so he will fall back to the drawing board if your Ravens get some early time over at bridge. But again, starting big situation right now for London, right? We've talked about it kind of toward the start of the day today. Our games today, all elimination games, right? We're only going to have 2 teams make it out of the 6 that are playing today just to kind of complete our top 4. This very well could be the final map of the Ravens season. I'm sure they're aware of it, but I'm interested to see what they can come out with. This is a very hot, fiery team, a roster that oftentimes can kind of wear that pride in their sleeve because they have so much passion for who they represent. Now's their opportunity, man. Now's their chance to really put on a show and try to send us to that game 5.
Yeah, they were able to get 40 points right off that first hard point, and that's huge. Now you give yourself enough time to eventually try to break in towards this P2. You see that number 9 player in Shawnee pushing through that construction side, trying to set up a pinch. They're going to have multiple players trying to go through the middle of the map. One player going through the front, which is going to be Dylan. But all the kills are going in favor of the Subliners. They're going to be able to bounce back if they can execute this hold a little longer and eventually focus on those rotations.
Well, the Ravens look to be doing some great work from not only the front, but also the back line. Scraps doing some damage at construction stairs. Meanwhile, it is Mr. Construction himself. Shawnee puts on the hard hat before he walks inside electronic, but has to try to deal with a lot of the nades that are coming his way, all the utility as well as New York. They managed to break back on through, but I feel like you're still happy with that if you're the Ravens, right? You managed to break on, try to get a little bit of time, steal away that money, or rather those money seconds that New York tries to get. They also get the last few seconds of scrap points as well, and now they've got that next rotation here for next.
Yeah, that's a beautiful outcome for the Ravens right there. Great answer. Now you have Barbershop. You're able to open this game wide open. Then being able to hit around that construction side on that P2, sending a player like Dylan to go through that front side, picking up a couple kills to contest it and not give the Subliners a full 60. Now they're just going to grow this lead going into this Barbershop hill, but it can get a little scary because around that 30 to 25 second mark, you want to eventually be able to push out so you don't get trapped going into construction.
Yeah, you want to try to get a nice wipe, a great call, and Max trying to do everything to prevent that being the case. Again, take a look at that mini-map, bottom left of your screen. The Ravens, they want to try to break out of this soon because we very well could start to see somewhat of a spawn trap. But look at that. That's actually going to be the Ravens who do manage to spawn out toward construction study. That is massive. New York, they thought they had them pinned back. New York thought they were going to be in such a wonderful position now set up for next, but it's the Ravens who actually get the spawn. And now we talk about it. P2, P3, now P4, all advantage for the Ravens.
And that's the best possible outcome for the Ravens. The Subliners are being way too aggressive in that Barbershop, forces the London Royal Ravens to spawn at the next hill. And that's the exact same thing that they did in map number 1, just being too aggressive. Sometimes you got to slow down, play passive, and just wait for your teammates to come to you because these hills can get out of hand. As I say that, they're able to flip it once again, break into this hard point. 30 seconds remaining. The Subliners are able to answer back.
I'll tell you what, man, that worried me a ton, clearly, because I thought that was going to be the Ravens locking down construction as well. Thankfully, if you're a New York fan, they managed to break. I have no idea how they managed to do it, but I'd argue it has something to do with that force brief from both Attach and Temp, as Temp ends up getting taken
Zuma
down. And take a look, like you said, Study, at that player 5, Zuma, toward the back lines. We talk about spoilers. We talk about how crazy these rotations can be. Zuma, the opportunity to make a play.
Fortunately, he gets taken down right there. The Subliners are going to have this back spawn, but the London Royal Ravens are holding it from the front. Here come the smoke grenades. Here come the Semtex. Everything's coming down. 4-kill goal in favor of the Subliners. Now they should be able to push up and get some map control, forcing the players from the London Royal Ravens to spawn out by that bridge and be able to get back into this game.
Yeah, for a moment, we were talking about that Zuma play. Just instantly gets taken down. The awareness from the Ravens was great. How about now? Zuma tries to basically get that jump shot through. The Ravens are aware of it. They are able to cut him down and are going to be able to lock up the final few seconds over in ruins. But tell you what, man, off the start, kind of happy with the way that London played it. I think, you know what, in certain situations, they got some great spawns. They played the hill very effectively. And if you're London, if you can get some good time electronic stuff like you did last time, try to thwart any of the early New York rotations, I think you're going to be in a good position. But this is I think it's fair to say, this is the Royal Ravens that we wanted to see coming into this game 4. But again, the job's not done yet.
Yeah, you get 4 down right there in that situation. 50 seconds on this P1 hill in the second rotation of Hardpoints. Able to pick up all this time, and this is where it can get out of hand for the Subliners. You did not have a great P2 hold. You had players like Dylan break through that front side, picking up a couple kills, just contesting. They were only able to get 28 seconds. They need to be able to stop letting the bleeding happen, because the London Royal Ravens, they're getting closer and closer to be able to close this out. You need to fight this junk time, not give it all up. But the Scraps is going to win a big one-on-one gunfight for the remaining time.
Yep, Scraps wins the big 1v1 fight over at Bridge on a 3 spree himself, and it looks as if the Ravens are going to look to try to break on in here just with time starting to tick away before the buzzer begins the call. It is going to be Mac winning 2 big ones, though, on Shawnee and Zero, as that M4 has been hot so far throughout the weekend and continues to be in a very, very big situation. And speaking of big, like we said, for New York, down by 100. Going to need to make a strong sequence occur here in Electronic Shop. This is the hard point to do it, but we saw the Ravens break in last time around. Temp trying to hold down a solid position, as it looks as if that was player 4 accuracy. Does spawn up exactly where he died, so he'll be happy to reclaim back over at that position. Zuma drops toward the front door. Here comes the Ravens collapse. 30 valuable seconds that the Ravens want to try and accrue, but it looks as if New York, they're winning the fights that matter. They're cutting them down, and this may be the exact seconds that the Subliners need to get. But here comes the push. Here comes the opportunity. Attach. Last man standing. Can he go big? Can he try and shut down London for these last 15? New York still spawning here, by the way. as London will manage to break on in. Temp wins a big 1v1. So overall, Ravens, they get the opportunity toward the stretch, not able to do it, but they're set up for next. And at the same time, though, New York, they have a solid position to try and contest this.
All the kills going in favor of the Subliners. Zuma was that player on rotation, able to win that one-on-one gunfight versus Shawnee. Hopefully the spawns are going to be for the Subliners now. Player trying to come around the backside. Dylan's going to get taken down, but Zuma once again making the rotation plays when needed. Mac was there to help him a little bit, pick up one kill, but Zuma pushing all the way through this hard point is that play that can make or break this game right now. They can fight themselves right back into this, but no, they get taken down.
Oh my gosh, New York, I thought they had locked it up. I thought they had done it. Temp still wants to have somewhat of a final word here at Barbershop. Jumps on in, manages to find the second. My goodness, but it really is about that next rotation. Last 15 gonna go to Zuma, and here the boys at New York, but it's actually the Ravens who do have that next one for construction. That's the big emphasis right now, as we're seeing slays come through left and right. Only 40 more points for the Ravens to force on that game 5. New York, they're gonna need a break here, Study. They're gonna need someone to really step up and be the difference maker. A big push coming in here from bottom rug. Zuma accuracy, able to find the first, and Temp realizes now it's time. Now's the time to go and push on it, but the smoke actually messes up. He actually hits the side of the wall, but they've got the teammate support regardless. They're actually going to be able to break on in here. A solid 3 in a row right now for Zuma. London, though, still with spawns, are trying to make somewhat of a push, somewhat of a resurgence back into this one, but New York, they run right through. They've got the time, and they break in right when they need to. Scraps, though, from that top stairs position, he gets dropped. Mac loses a big 1v1, but if you're New York, you've got the time. You manage to delay for as long as you can, and now we're over at Ruins.
London Royal Ravens need to have a good setup. You have 3 players from the Subliners pushing from this BS&D site, trying to come through front arches. A kill goes in favor of Zero with that nade on the Temp. They just need 24 seconds to be able to close this out. But the Subliners are going to try to contest this from the front and not try to give up all this time.
Oh boy, it's coming down to the wire. Can New York do this? Can they break on in? Are the Ravens going to force us to a game 5? The smoke is out, and Zuma hits a shot from range onto Wuskin. Very well could be the play, very well could be the kill that decides how the rest of this game begins to play out. Keep in mind, New York, they're not going to be able to win it here, so they want to get some good contested time, but they also have to be in mind of that rotation, which I'm sure the Ravens are going to be on top of. But here comes the play, here comes the push. The Ravens instantly rush right on through. The blitz is going to work out. Only a few more seconds for them. Can they lock it up, New York? Can they push in toward the final stretch? And no, shut down at the door as the Royal Ravens answer back here in Hardpoint and send us to a game 5.
Such an insane game 4 right there. The Subliners were playing perfect right off the rip, but the London Royal Ravens were making the plays when needed to. You see Dylan, he was sitting at 21 and 33. Even though he's -12, he was making those plays for the Royal Ravens to be aggressive and to be able to chain that P3 and P4 hardpoint. Every time that they rotated towards P3, the Subliners, they were way too aggressive and eventually spawning them out towards construction. You cannot let those little mistakes happen. If they do not let that happen, they're able to trap them in that back barbershop, and it'll be a totally different game. But the London Royal Ravens playing that beautifully when it came to what kills they needed to get at the perfect time. Now we're going to a game 5. I can't believe this. This is a banger.
It is, man. It's a banger indeed. One that we thought could possibly see a game 5, and it has. And you got to give a lot of props to the Ravens, right? We were kind of counting them out coming into the Ramaza, talking on that search and destroy. It very well might have cost them the series. It very well might have cost them their life throughout the remainder of playoffs. But their backs are against the wall, much like we're going to see a lot of teams today. They're able to answer, and now we've got ourselves a Ramaza search and destroy here for game number 5. Oh, this is going to be an absolute phenomenal one to lock things up and study. It's crazy to think after this series concludes, either the Royal Ravens or the Subliners, they're knocked out, man.
It's so crazy, bro, because I'm looking at these maps, and both hard points lost by the Subliners. Chestnut versus Huntsman, they win them both. So going into this game number 5, it's up in the air for me. I can't wait.
Oh, it's going to be great. It's going to absolutely be fantastic. Like we talked about Royal Raven Subliners, someone's season is done after this next game. Make sure to stay with us as Game 5, Ramazza Search and Destroy, is up right after this.
Dylan, he's too bloody strong. But a 0 doing damage. He's not stopping anytime soon. Again, Scraps has got his number. Beautiful read from Lookin. Raven putting them down.
Want to play Search and Destroy like a pro? Here's some S&D recon from the U.S. Air Force. This time, we're scouting out Ramazza, the last map in the competitive S&D pool. On the ground, it's a maze of buildings and broken structures, perfect terrain for close quarters specialists. This maze sits under multiple rooftops that connect the main lanes of the map. Jumping on the rooftops is a great way to cut across the map quickly, or to secure power positions to pick off opponents from a distance. Bomb Site A sits on the bottom floor of the construction site. It's a tight, claustrophobic space, so expect any gunfights in here to be chaotic. Meanwhile, Bomb Site B is much more open. It's right in the middle of the plaza, surrounded by a ton of hiding spots, a scary site to take or retake without proper utility or team support. If you're on offense, put some early pressure on one of the bomb sites by taking a power position quickly. If you want to hit Bomb Site B, try pushing the ruins right away. This position gives you a ton of information on Bomb Site B. You can catch anyone in the house and anyone pushing from the lane or buildings on the right. If you're on defense, a smoke grenade is the best way to counter this position. Grab an SMG and smoke off the tunnel as you approach. This will buy your team the time to set up around Bomb Site B and even give you the chance to push for the kill. If you want to play a more passive defense, climb up the ladder on the construction site. This is a standard position to catch any attackers pushing the scaffolding. You can also jump down to keep an eye on the alley. But if you jump onto this spot, you can even get an angle across the rooftop and catch anyone pushing through the other side. If you're on offense and want to contest the high ground for yourself, check out this spot from CDL Pro, Pharaoh. As soon as he spawns, he runs right into this little room, hops up on the table, and peeks through this little window. Your vision's limited, but this is a super sneaky spot to catch any defenders pushing the scaffolding or pushing through mid-map. If you're on offense and want to do something extra cheesy, run through the ruins into the alley and jump on top of the barbed wire fence. This wide open position makes it a pure surprise play, but hey, if it worked at a pro match, it might just work for you too. There's your S&D recon for Ramazza. Good luck down there.
Want to play Search and Destroy like a pro? Sorry, didn't realize we were actually on right now. I was just trying to do my best voiceover impression of Nameless. Always does a great job with the S&D recon by the U.S. Air Force. And the reason why we broke down that map is because that is exactly what we're getting ready to have for this Game 5, folks. It is Subliners versus Ravens. Winner of this game goes on the top 6. Loser finishes off with a top 8 placement and is eliminated from the playoff study. We've got to talk about it, my friend. This Game 5, we were hoping we could see, another Search and Destroy to possibly have a round 11. Because, folks, if we go to a round 11, that means burritos for all. That means burritos for you. Make sure to type !Chipotle in the YouTube chat. You'll get some options. You'll get some opportunities. Go to chipotle.com/COD for more details. Oh boy, I'm excited for this one. Subliners v Ravens. Study would talk about this one. We talk about this S&D on Ramaza, my friend. It's going to be an interesting one, right? Like I said, after this map has concluded, one team is advancing, the other's season is over. It's crazy to think about. Talk to me though. Map records for both of these teams. How both of these rosters shaped up when it comes down to this map so far throughout the year?
So the Subliners, they are 7-2 compared to the London Royal Ravens, who are 2-1. So the Subliners have a lot more experience when you're going into this map, and I feel like this one's going to go super fast. You have players like Zuma, players like Attach, who are going to be playing for that bottom middle control, but I'm expecting a lot of fast B hits because the Subliners just have a lot of confidence on this map.
Oh boy, Subliners indeed. Got a lot of reps. Ravens, now's the time. Now's your chance. A big game. A $125,000 game of Search and Destroy. If that's not pressure, I don't know what is. Subliners 1-7 in Game 5s. Ravens 6-4. We talked about the map differential. Those things definitely start to even out. But talk about the scale. Which way will it flip? Subliners on offense to kick this one off. And much like the last Search and Destroy, we got to witness a very slow start to this round, but the pace is quickly about to change up as Zero. He'll find 2 toward that bottom middle. Shiny, in the meantime, puts the M4 to use versus Zuma. Wuskin given some haircuts, but nonetheless, the Ravens have put their stamp on this round.
Good little corner right there out of Zero. You know, he heard a couple players from the Subliners try to go through that bottom middle. He's able to get both of those players and put the bomb down. This is a pretty difficult task with only 30 seconds remaining. But you just love this opening round from the London Royal Ravens. They were able to put themselves in great positions, not really panic, just waiting for the play to come to them, knowing that the Subliners will be aggressive, and they're able to take that round number 1.
Yep, and you hit on it perfectly, right? The aggression has been the key to success for pretty much every team that's played the Ravens, right? We talked about it versus the Ultra in their very first series. That team was so good at coming out strong. London didn't really know how to deal with it. And in the Hardpoints, that's also been the case. London manages to send us to this Game 5 after an incredible Ramaza victory. We'll stay here for this map. It's only right that we get to stay on it. Saw a lovely Game 5 as well between Atlanta and Chicago on this map. Setting the stage well for playoffs. As here we go, Ravens now back on the attack, and the early shots are out. Attach can thank his good graces there, and how about a nade for good measure? Zuma, he's going hunting Study, but in the meantime, I believe that's actually going to be Dylan who's on the flank. Can he catch off Mac in time? Zero in the meantime. Looks like that bomb is going to go for the rotation, but like I said, player 8, Dylan can play spoiler. He can be the big difference maker here at construction. Temp. It's going to be 2 big ones. Shawnee as well goes for the reply, and back and forth trades aplenty. Bomb is down, and if you're New York, you're happy with the way that you've dealt with this attack. You're happy with the way this one has gone up to this point. You've got man count advantage and only a little bit of time left, but Shawnee, construction man himself, going big toward the top. But again, 20 seconds left. Zero. He's got to find the right timing. He's got to find the right timing here. He's going to be toward that bottom position. Shawnee's going to look toward his left. He's not. They don't see. Attached toward that top bridge position, but Shawnee able to turn on to one. He can't get the plant down in time. And Attach. No, the plant's going to get off. Shawnee, he's able to plant the bomb down, but the quick challenge is Shawnee again in construction. Wins a huge round here for the Ravens. I didn't think he had the chance to get the bomb down in time. Shawnee, the construction man, goes big yet again, as that is 2 early ones for the Ravens.
That's a heartbreaker if you're the Subliners right there. Picking up that 2-piece. Basically, I thought it was going to solidify the round, but Shawnee, being the construction man that he is, able to pick up 2 kills, force it into 1v1, just getting that plan off by the nick of time. And eventually, Zuma, unfortunately, gets there a little too late. Shawnee in that 1v1 with a big gunfight with that assault rifle, sitting at 6-0, and that is insane from the London Royal Ravens. They are stepping up big. That was an offensive round that the Subliners should have been able to win if they were on defense, but the man advantage is not going to their favor. You see Shawnee not missing a beat, just picking up kills left and right, looking like the opposing version of James Bond at 7-0. As I say that, he gets taken down. Now 4v4 situation.
4v4 indeed, my friend. Bomb is going to be planted. Scraps quickly going to challenge, and is accuracy going to go for the play? No, I believe that was actually his stun that gets tossed out. So the weapon is not primed and ready. Dylan around the corner, shuts down Mac. The smoke is out. Zero finds one through middle. Advantage right now toward the Ravens. Can this be a 3-0 start, or can Patch play spoiler? Able to take down one on the Wuskin. Oh, is he going to kill himself with a nade? He's got to be careful. Dylan Price. You know what you can do with search and destroy? Trying to fire off the shots on the Dylan. Time starting to tick away. Actually has to reload. Can he get him down in time? And no, it looked like a great situation for Attach. He has to reload, Study. But it's the Ravens who managed to get off the defuse regardless. And boy, was that one close. Despite a 3-1, I'm sure the Ravens in that moment were yelling at Zero exactly where he was. My word, 3 crazy rounds, but 3 that have all gone the way of London.
So the Subliners, they push for that bomb plan. They get it down in a 4v4 situation, and this is the thing that was costing them before in Search and Destroy. They have players that are trying to make individual plays. Once you get that bomb down, you saw Temp trying to run right through middle map, and Zero was able to catch him and force it into a 4v2. You need to play your man advantage and play your proper positions, because they just keep on getting caught in these 1v1 gunfights. No one's there for the trade. They needed an answer, because to go down 4-0 quick, it's looking like it's going to be an aggressive hit from the London Royal Ravens onto A. Bomb most likely immediately about to go down, and this is starting to get out of hand for the Subliners. They need to be able to win this round if they want to have a chance at fighting back in this map.
Zuma gets the unfortunate timing. Ravens break on in. However, Mac on the flank. His first playoffs, his first postseason. Big situation for him. Tries to take down Zero. In the meantime, it's Attach who falls. Mac instantly left all by himself. Time starting to tick away, and this looks good for London. It looks good for London, but Mac able to find another one onto Shawnee. Can he turn on to Wuskin? Not going to happen. Instantly hops on the defuse, and surely someone from London checks this. Surely they do, and they will. Zero for the kill. Zero currently taking down the Subliners. And my word, New York yet to have a real reply, as 4 up and 4 down. Study New York, it has to be here, right? We talk about their season on the line. This round means everything for them.
Yep, London Royal Ravens are up 4-0, so now they have that ability to take a little bit of risk. You are sitting pretty good in this map number 5. Zuma on that 0-4. You need him to step up. This is one of your main sub players that needs to be aggressive towards this bottom mid and try to fight for that. Mac's going to slide right through bottom mid. Zero putting a couple shots down, able to take down 1. But just like that, man, it goes from a 5v5 to a 4v1. The Royal Ravens are on fire right now. This is an absolute steamroll.
A steamroll indeed, but can it be countered by ice? Not going to happen. The nade from afar as London coming out swinging. 5 rounds up and 5 rounds down. New York yet to have a reply, as at one point New York found themselves up 2-1. They looked great after the search and destroy victory. The Ravens come up clutch, and now they find themselves up 5-0. I'm stunned, Study.
Shawnee at 10-3. Shawnee's at 10-3, man. Stepping up on Ramaza when his team needs it. Max able to open it up with the first blood. But like I said, the London Royal Ravens put themselves in a hefty lead to eventually start taking some risks. But the Subliners have a great answer now, able to win this round really quickly. You know, if you're going down 5-0, you have to start taking some risks, being aggressive, and that's exactly what they did. Subliners need to be able to bounce back round by round, and that's a good way to start.
So in this situation for the Subliners, as we call it, they're down. Situation's known, right? Everyone can see the scoreboard. It's 0-5, now 1-5. Knowing what's on the line, how do you keep yourself focused right now?
It's just one round at a time, man. You guys need to call a play call and just do it together. I know Zuma's currently sitting at 0-5, and this is not what we expect out of a player of his caliber. But I would like to see them just put all their players in one situation and play trades effectively. Powerhouse their way through to a bomb site and eventually try to be able to work that bomb plant and put themselves in a man advantage. But it's looking like they're going to try to take this slow towards this B. Accuracy able to open it up with the first blood, but Zero is able to respond.
Big kill coming through from Zero. Smoke is down, and Tatch has to make the play. Tatch finds one, trying to clear out the side of as a majority of London players aren't actually going to be here, but the one that is happens to be Scraps. Scraps takes down Accuracy, and now Timp realizes he doesn't have a ton of visuals here to get this bomb down, and there goes a Tatch as well. A big play coming through from Scraps as now it's all on to Temp. A 1 versus 3 to stay alive. Can he do it? And it's not gonna happen. The Ravens managed to make the comeback as they survive, winning this search and destroy in dominant fashion. A 6-1. And boy, did this one treat us. Boy, did this series live up to what we thought it could be. As London, they move on, and this is the end of New York season.
London on that map number 5. They had that momentum from that map number 4. Them winning both hardpoints in this series, closing it out on that map number 5, 6-1. The momentum going into the next series is through the roof. You saw Scraps standing up in that little image that we had there, just being so gassed. Zero talking the talk, stepping up when he needs to, but it was all on Shawnee right there with his AR presence, starting off so early, so hot. 7-0, especially winning that 1v1 versus Zuma is a complete game changer. If that round goes in favor of the Subliners, they probably get some life, but Shawnee after that round, his energy had to be through the roof, and it definitely showed them winning in a 6-1 dominant fashion to be able to move on.
We should bring up the Shawnee play, man. We got to revisit it here for our scuff play of the game, and deservedly so, right? Absolutely. Shawnee, he's been called the construction man for a reason, and boy, was this a play from him as we'll get to kind of revisit this one. Obviously, it comes down to the wire, a 2 versus 4, I believe, overall.
Yeah.
But Shawnee finds the big one up top versus Accuracy, and walk me through it, Study. He manages to pull off an insane clutch to give London all the momentum.
Yeah, so it was a 4v2, and you expect the Subliners to just be buddy system, playing the trades effectively, but they were playing individual positions, and Shawnee was able to catch 2 to force it to a 2v2 situation. Now the clock's going down to the wire. You see Attach able to pick up a kill onto Zero, but if I'm Zuma right there, you have to take your time. The bomb needs to be planted. You don't really need to peek that back door too much, because Attach was rotating out, thinking that Tommy, which was Zuma, was going to have that position, just take him off bomb if it was getting planted. But Zuma just peaks a little too much, attaches out of the play. Shawnee comes up huge in that second round to give his team the momentum to drive through to finish out that map.
Yeah, and it's a hard loss too, especially for the Subliners. They lose this game 5 search and destroy on Ramaza, one that they like this map, right? They were 7-2 on this map coming in. They looked primed after they had walked away with the domination victory. They're up 2-1, and I know it's hard, right? Zuma finishes off, I think it was 0-6 in the search and destroy. Yeah. A hard way to go out of the season, a hard way to lose, especially against a very solid Royal Ravens team. But I'm sure for Zero, this victory is all that much sweeter, as now we get to see the Ravens face off against the Ultra in a rematch, actually, that we got to cast earlier on in the weekend. Excited to see the way that the Ravens do come out, but kind of reflecting, right? So we got to talk about this as well. We talk about the amount of pressure that is on these games. Every single match that we have is an elimination. One team is moving on, the other ends up going home. Kind of quickly give me a little bit of a recap on the New York season and what you like from these guys.
So New York, they started off the year, didn't really have the best roster. They had to make some proper adjustments. Picking up the addition of Mac was a huge thing for their roster. They were able to win their home series at the New York home series, but then the following event, they were just so inconsistent. They ended up not winning a single map at the next home series, and that left a bad taste in their mouth. You're going into this tournament, you had some things to work on. You were a really good hardpoint team, but in this series, you lose both hardpoints, and that is such a nerve-wracking thing for them. You had the possibility at closing out that map number 1, but Zero making that big individual play to flip those spawns and eventually chain P2 and P3 was huge. Then you go on to Ramaza Hardpoint, and once again, it's just little mistakes that were forcing the Royal Ravens to spawn out Torch Construction when they thought they had them trapped at back barbershop. Yeah. It wasn't a well-executed hardpoint throughout this entire series for the Subliners, and I know that's definitely beating them up because they felt like if they just pulled off one, obviously they win the series in a 3-1 fashion and don't even push it to that game number 5.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, man. Obviously, a solid end of the season for the Subliners. Obviously, a top 8 placement is by no means where they want to be, but you have to kind of look at it and kind of realize it for what it was. On the other end, a major positive for the London Royal Ravens. The heart of EU is still rooting on. They're still kind of surging forward right now, and it's a big victory for them, right? We talked about the most recent kind of series between these two. It was New York beating the Ravens in a 3-1 at New York's own home series. All the games were close, and obviously we can kind of say the same here for this series. Obviously, it comes down to a game 5. It was a close series, obviously, but it was a big victory for them. And again, we talked about it. Domination, I think, kind of forward thinking for the Ravens right now study when they face off against an ultra team. We had the ability to watch it specifically. It was their struggles in domination. That mode, it cannot continue to be the way that it is because, again, going up 2-0, it's not going to happen against these top dogs. You got to rely on at least 2 different game modes, and so far, domination has not been that for them.
Yeah, but in that series, them able to close out both of those hard points is so huge for that roster, especially for the momentum going up against the Ultra. You know how aggressive they are when it comes to those respawn game modes, so they're going to be able to just match that energy with this win over the Subliners. I cannot wait to see how that match is going to break down, and the London Royal Ravens definitely deserve to be in this position after that performance.
Yeah, they absolutely do. Well, the Ravens managed to get it done in a game 5. It's actually Lottie standing by with a construction man himself. Lottie, take it away.
Thank you so much, gents. This is your instant reaction presented by PlayStation. Now, I'm going to firstly start off by saying I'm not biased whatsoever, but let's get it done, London. Yeah. Let's go. I predicted this to happen 3-2. I was the only one, and it happened. So, totally not biased though whatsoever. Shawnee, I've got to say, construction quite clearly is your jam. This was a phenomenal performance out of you. I could literally see how confident you were running around Ramaza. Yeah. And rightfully so, because, you popped off and it was absolutely fantastic to see. But I want to quickly just see a comparison from your perspective of Ramaza S&D and Arklov. Of course, it was 2 different stories there. So what did you switch up in that game 5?
Honestly, we done a lot of prep for Arklov, and we have a lot of tactics in that map that we like to use different variations, and we were just slightly off every time. It felt like at the last second we'd be like, right, okay, someone play B instead of A, and then they would stack A. So I honestly just think the calls from all of us were a bit iffy that game. That was only the main problem, and then obviously we started Ramaza and we just started hot, and that was it. It was done as soon as we started 2-0 like that. That was it. It was done. They tried to come A, and it just didn't work out for them. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And then with Hardpoint, looking at, Ramaza again with Hardpoint, at moments I was a little bit nervous because it could have gone either way. And, talking about, obviously New York set up at Barbershop at one point and, had a really, really good setup. And then Zero managed to get the godlike spawn for P4, so construction. And you guys held it pretty well, but then New York managed to take it over and you close out the game at Ruin. So talk to me about that last minute setup, trying to get over the line there in Hardpoint. And because you guys have been doing pretty well with your Hardpoint recently.
Yeah. Honestly, when it gets to that point, when you're up a certain amount, it's everyone just kind of rotates to try and get 10, 20 seconds on the early rotation. And then if they lose it, whatever, you go to the next one, do the same until you close it out. So we just obviously worked out that we only needed 20 seconds in each hill for a bit, 1 or 2 hills, and we won the game. So we weren't really too worried. We just kept rotating and making sure, like I said, the initial setup was decent enough to get the first 10, 20 seconds, and then just closed it out.
Absolutely. Well, Shawnee, my final question to you before I let you go is, of course, you've got Toronto up next. Fierce competitor. They're ready to go, and I know you guys are as well. But I want to know if you've got any words for your London fans, or your London, team in general, and everybody behind the scenes for London in this next moment of playoffs.
Yeah, I want to say a few things. So, one, to all the management up and above, like making sure we have everything we need to like do this online. You know how stressful it is. So, shout out to all them and my teammates as well. They've been fantastic. Like through this tough time, like these last few months, and it's starting to show now, and it's a good feeling because it's champs, like I said. And one more thing I just want to add on is New York were chatting a lot of shit to us before this. Not a lot, but they were just some personal digs here and there, and that was a good win. So I hope they're listening. Just hope you learned your lesson, mate, because that's what happens, isn't it?
Oh. Hey, Shawnee, I think they can hear you, pal, loud and clear. Thank you so much for joining me, man, and best of luck going through, the rest of playoffs and against Ultra.
Thank you.
That has been your instant reaction presented by PlayStation. Heading to a quick break right now, but when we come back, we have a matchup for you. It's Optic Gaming taking on the Florida Mutineers. We'll see you after this.